guest today is Nicole Williamson. Nicole is a branding and digital marketing expert, currently serving as the Chief Branding Officer at Zilker Media, an Austin-based agency dedicated to helping people-driven brands. She oversees and creates digital strategies for Austin-based brands, thought leaders, and best-selling national authors. She believes in the power of community and leverages that philosophy with clients to build successful campaigns and partnerships. So today, Nicole is going to talk about why LinkedIn is becoming the best platform for personal branding, why C-suite should humanize their content to drive authentic thought leadership, and the best strategies to drive personal thought leadership while elevating brand awareness for their company. Let's jump right in. Okay, Nicole, I'm so happy to finally meet you and get you on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, and it's always interesting when the first conversation you ever have with a person is on a podcast. So
and recorded. Yeah.
It's always like a little awkward. Like, I don't know this person at all. But one of those things I wanted to talk about, because as I said, we don't know each other, but I know you told me that you're a sports fan. So can you tell me a little bit about how did you get into sports and what kind of sports are you into?
Yeah, we joke that I'm the son my dad wanted, but the daughter my mom got essentially. But he just made me a diehard sports fan. So, and I play golf. I am a diehard football and baseball fan. So we're in Austin, Texas. So diehard Longhorns and going into everything that they have for the most part.
Interesting. And the thing is too, you said you're into golf. I mean, golf is not something that is usually lumped in with like football and other sports because it's more of a strategic sort of.
It was the only sport I was actually like naturally good at. Everything else, even though I'm very tall, was not good at any sport. Not the most athletic, but I can play golf and I've loved it. It's something I get to do with my dad and my husband, and I get to do it a lot for work too, which makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we used to work as a personal trainer and I had a lot of golfers as clients. And I had one client who was a woman who, for some reason, she just had a knack for it, like you're saying. And she would just not golf all summer. And then her brothers would challenge her and she would beat them and they would get so upset with her.
Yeah, I love that.
Some people have a natural affinity for things. But yeah, to jump into this, so you are the Chief Brand Officer at Zilker Media. And on your bio, it says you're dedicated to building people-driven brands. So can you define what that is? What do you mean by people-driven? Aren't all brands people-driven or no?
It's become more popular over the past probably year or 2 years, where people are more familiar with the phrase people-driven. But for many years, it was corporate focused or company focused, and people had their brands driven by a logo or imagery or what their website looks like. But how we view it at Zilker and our methodology has been, it's about the person behind the brand and the company. People want to connect with people, and trust is missing a lot now behind brands. You know, people aren't quick to trust a corporation or do business with them. They want to trust the individual who's leading it. So we focus a lot of working with executives and founders, entrepreneurs who are running and creating these companies and helping them establish their personal brand and presence online. So all of the corporate stuff that they're doing, all of their business goals are following alongside them. And so people can connect with that individual.
Yeah. And that does seem to be a huge thing, especially like on LinkedIn, where, you know, everyone's talking about, you know, you have to get out from behind your logo and just be more people oriented. So do you think that it's becoming the best platform for personal branding?
LinkedIn, to me, by far, is the best for that. It's one of the truest algorithms to date, but it also just as allowing people to share their expertise and their thought leadership without some of the other junk that gets kind of in the way on social media. I feel like people spend really thoughtful and engaging time on LinkedIn, and they share things that are going to help people, and they're going to share their expertise to generate conversations. And Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, those all have their time and place for sure, especially if you're targeting different individuals. But if your goal is to really drive your business and drive business growth, LinkedIn is usually the way to go about that. We're just seeing the best results there.
Yeah, and that makes sense, especially for B2B. And I found that
Right.
like LinkedIn is always supportive. Like even if people disagree, I mean, there are occasions, of course, if somebody's going to bring up something like politics, which is just dumb to do on that platform. But if if you do something like that, you're going to get a lot of pushback and you're going to have arguments. But for the most part, even if people disagree with you, I find, because I've been on there really steadily for over 2 years, and people will present their case and say, well, did you think about this? And it's usually kind of logical discussion, even if they don't agree with your perspective.
Right. People just trying to start engaging conversations and connecting with people. And you see the comment threads that have really great insights and feedback. I just think it provides some of the most meaningful and valuable content, but also driving the most community building too. People are following not just to follow, they're following because they're gaining insights that are helping them maybe in their career or helping them in their business. And they're connecting and building that community around those ideas. And I think that's just really powerful.
Yeah. Do you think it really took off during the pandemic? Because that's about when I got on. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think it's been steadily climbing. I've been with Zilker for 6 years, and we started doing LinkedIn pretty quickly from the beginning. We started to see that become more and more of a platform. But I would say, yeah, probably with the pandemic in the last 3, maybe even 4 years, I've seen it really, really take off. And especially, it seems like it's the social media platform that still has the most trust behind it, where people actually like to get on it and engage, and they feel like they're getting the content fed to them that is the right content. And so I think that's where people really kind of gravitated towards. And it became less about job searching. And it became more about just engaging and building authentic relationships.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I've made some really good friends on LinkedIn. And what's cool is that they're all around the world. I know people in like every country, and they're people who I'd never meet otherwise. I mean, I guess every social media, but I'm not active on anything else. I'll lurk.
Yeah. Well, and it's people who are, I'm not saying that people aren't genuine on other platforms, but it does feel like people spend the real energy to write meaningful and engaging pieces here, and definitely B2B. And we see it B2C too, even, or people vetting a business, they may go to that executive's content and see what they're posting about and what is their values of their brand and their mission, and how do they engage with their employees. It's a great recruiting tool just from that perspective too. It's just used in so many ways that it's really great. It's
almost like I'm a big gym rat. I work out. I used to be a personal trainer. So I meet people at the gym, and it's almost like the same idea where you see people, like I go the same time every day. And after a while, you see other people there. So it's like on LinkedIn, you see the same people.
Yeah.
And you become familiar. Then you start saying hello, and then you start conversations. And it's a very natural sort of progression.
Yeah.
Aside from people who, pitch slap when they see you and like hire me. And
yeah, you're absolutely right. I think where people are just kind of gravitating towards is that authentic connection. And they're finding that there, and they're building upon it, and they're going back to find more insights that are helpful, and people are building communities. And I think that's how social media should be used. And I love seeing it used for that.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the mistakes you think that, especially B2B, like what are people doing? Like say there's a company and they're like, you know what, I want to go on, because a lot of them are still just posting when there's somebody's promoted or they hire somebody.
Yeah.
Like what are some mistakes that they're making that you see?
A few things I probably see the most is people really putting all their energy and focus into a company LinkedIn page. It's good to have. It's good for SEO. It's good for presence. It's good to post and have that. It's not going to go very far though. They don't perform as well as individual pages, which makes sense. It's how the platform was created. And so I see people who just spend all their energy and focus into posting on that, but no one really shares it from the company. No one's engaging with it. It's just sitting there kind of living and breathing and not going anywhere beyond that. From a sales side, LinkedIn's used obviously a lot for sales, not positioning your sales team to be thought leaders on the platform is a disservice, because they really should be their own thought leaders. They're they're the face of your brand or your company. They're the ones meeting people. They're the ones out in the community. They're the ones that people are going to go search when they meet them at a happy hour or whatever it may be. Positioning your team to also be thought leaders and putting them out in the forefront is the best way forward. And that's a big miss that I see pretty often. And then there's small things like people don't have their things filled out or not having a high quality headshot. Those small things go a long way. Your cover photo, people either don't do one or they may choose a photo that may not be the right representation of who they are. So it's just putting more thought into some of those things, which when you join, you may not think through. But those are just kind of small tweaks that can make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. I've worked with I've just hired LinkedIn like coaches just on an hourly rate here and there just to get some ideas. And everyone has a different approach. But yeah, it's a matter of trying things too, but some of it is obvious. Like you said, like a clear headshot. Like I always joke that there was a woman, I don't know, this was years ago. Maybe she's changed. She had a headshot with her in a llama. Like there was a llama head. And I'm like, what is going on here? So, if people are going to look at something like that and then question what they're looking at or why, you've done something, it kind of takes away from it. And then there's the selfies, people taking selfies. I don't see that so much. I don't get people like that on my timeline, but
I think it's gone away a little bit. And I would even say it's okay to show personality on LinkedIn. I think people are scared to do that. Sometimes it's like, oh, I have to be so professional and so corporate feel. And I'm like, you actually don't.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a more professional audience and tone, but some of the best content and the highest performing content is personal. You're out with your family. You spent Mother's Day with your mom. Things like that do perform really well because it's humanizing. People want to, again, connect with people. And if you're just kind of putting this front out there that doesn't showcase that, it's a missed opportunity.
I think it's tough because, I'm speaking for myself and it's kind of a fine line. Like when I lost my mom a couple of years ago and I posted, that got a tremendous amount of attention, but it wasn't like business attention, but it's something that happened. It was, so I'll post, but it's pretty rare for me to post something like that. I just feel like, I don't know, I'm just uncomfortable about it, so I tend to stick with what I know and what I'm trying to get out there,
I think it's finding the right moments, not doing it all the time and if something has a massive impact on your life, something like that you experienced, I think that's great to share if you're comfortable with that. And I know a lot of people don't want to share their kids and things on Facebook or on LinkedIn or whatever it is, which is completely and totally understandable.
Yeah.
But there's such a mix now of work and life and they affect one another so much that I think that's becoming more common. Mm-hmm. And so I don't do it a lot either. I don't share a whole bunch of personal things, but every once in a while I was with my mom or I did this or whatever it may be, I'll throw it out there. And just to get a chance to kind of share just a little bit more about me that may not follow me on other platforms.
And I do like that when I see other people doing it, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, is this too weird? Or I think it's because of all the, time on Facebook and you see what's going on Twitter and TikTok and all this. And I lurk on all those, mainly for research for my clients. Sometimes I'm looking for something and seeing what people are talking about. And somebody told me the other day, they said, you're everywhere. I said, well, I have to be. Like, I just want to absorb, like if I'm at the gym, even if I hear what seems like maybe an interesting conversation, I rarely do this, but I will occasionally turn off my headset to see if there's anything interesting. And I get ideas, not really eavesdropping. I don't care. It's rarely anything that interesting. But
if people are having it in a public space, it's fair game.
Yeah. And I'm standing right there, but they don't think anyone can hear because they have, I have my headphones on and stuff. But yeah, are there particular strategy to drive like that personal thought leadership and then also at the same time elevating your brand awareness? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I would say a few things. Don't feel like you have to one post all the time, every day, 3 times a day. It's all about building consistency and maintaining consistency. But just start with once a week as get going on that and give yourself the energy to do that. And engage with people. Don't post and leave. Right. If you post and leave and you never engage with anyone or comment back, or it just kind of dies. And you also don't build your presence on the platform. So spending time building a community is so critical. And so you have to kind of give and take a little bit. You have to post, but you also have to be a member of LinkedIn and be part of the group and comment and share feedback and all those other things. That's really important. I always like to say, kind of look at what other people are posting in your space or your industry. It's not there to copy, but see what's working, see what's not working, see what resonates with you, and kind of shift your strategy based off of that. See what hashtags people are using. That actually does really well on LinkedIn and helps drive a lot of content. Find your voice and your thing. You know, a lot of people are using LinkedIn newsletters. A lot of people are sharing video content. Those are all really great tools to utilize. But you just kind of have to find your voice and go post very good quality versus quantity every time. And give yourself topics that you really want to focus on, that you think are going to be valuable from a business perspective, that someone's going to see that and resonate and be like, oh, I want to work with that person. Right. And if you're being too salesy, too promotional, you know, it's all about you all the time, you're not bringing anyone into your audience or connecting with anyone, then it doesn't go as far as it could.
Yeah. Commenting, I've seen, is just so important. Like, I think it's even more important than posting.
It is.
Yeah. If I slack on the commenting, I find that my views to my posts go down. I mean, I can see it. Do you use Shield? Are you a Shield user? Shield app?
I'm not a Shield user. No.
Oh, okay. Because what I like about the app is that I can get on there and I can organize my posts. Like, I can see, like I did it this weekend, because I've been posting a little bit on Sunday, and I was getting some good back and forth, some engagement. And so I looked at it to see what were my most highly engaging posts. And it was never a Sunday. I just thought that it was, but it tends to be Wednesday, Thursday, Monday is the big thing, because I've been posting at least 5, if not 7 days a week. And I'm just getting burned out. So I'm like,
it's a lot.
I need to do something else.
It's a lot.
Yeah. But you're saying even like start once a week. And
yeah, if you haven't been doing it and have experience and you're overwhelmed by it, just start once a week. Block 30 minutes, post something meaningful, and engage for a little bit, and then check it off your list, and then go back. And then it's going to get easier, and you're going to find yourself using it more and more. And then even monitoring the LinkedIn kind of news feed, or they have also those trending topics on the right side. There's key topics that LinkedIn editors are circulating as key areas of focus for that day. They rotate out, but it's actually human editors who are monitoring those topics and pulling in content. It's a fantastic tool. There's not going to be something you can comment on all the time, but there are things that may be relevant to your industry that day, and you can go and engage in that space. And that's a great way to build relationships, because those are other experts in your industry talking about things. I think from what I saw today, it was something about, like inflation was going down, and LinkedIn's been focusing on various things just about the economy, but there may be trending topics about a new platform, or trending topics about something with Google's new product. And there's just a lot of different things that can come through there that you can use and share your expertise on the issue.
Yeah, I haven't checked out the trending topics that much, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a great tool, and I love that it's actual humans that monitor and not robots or other AI tools. It's actual LinkedIn editing team, which is great.
Yeah, what do you think about AI? Like, I know people are complaining that people are using AI to post on LinkedIn. Have you noticed that, or have you heard any news about it?
Yeah, you can kind of tell. I think AI is great. I think it's going to be something that, if it's used the smart way, it can benefit, every industry. I'm not scared of technology advancement, but at the same time, someone has to plug in the information and give it the strategy and focus on the voice and the tone, because the first thing it spits out, it's never, at least at this stage of it, this could go live in a couple months and that not be the case, but you have to feed it the strategy and the information and the tone of voice and how you want it to sound. If you want it to sound like you, if you just ask it to spit out a couple of things and you post it, people are going to know that. They're going to know that you didn't do that, or that you didn't write that. So it's using the tool to work for you, but you gotta massage that a little bit of just how do you give it the right content to spit out the right content.
I've been using it to get ideas for, well, sometimes it's topic ideas. It's something, what is it? I'll put in like, what are things about X that people aren't talking about so much? Yeah. And I've had good ideas that way. I've asked it to help with headlines, and I'll say, this is what I do for a living. So I don't really want to copy it, but it gives me ideas. Usually I'll get literally about 20 before I piece together what will work, but it's not that bad. It tends to overuse words a lot.
It does. And I love that as a brainstorm tool though. Like that's how we've used it a lot. We never take it for what it gives us, but it's a great area to get some ideas. Or if you're brainstorming alone, you can start just kind of talking to the tool a little bit and see what it gives you and give it ideas. I think it's going to be really beneficial. And I know people are fearful of it, and other people are like, well, I'm not going to hire writers or marketers anymore because we have AI. And I'm like, well, still need a strategy because it doesn't work without a strategy. You need someone to be really thinking through that. The AI tool can't do that. And you need someone to feed it the right information the right way. And that is right from what we're seeing right now. It's an art form to get it, to get the right data information there.
Exactly. It doesn't get the emotion. Like when I write copy and this is the thing is it can't interview your customers. It can't get into what their real emotional challenges are. And that's really what, we make decisions based on emotion. So I've found, and I'm always happy when I see that it can't do something because it's like, all right, my job is secure because it's repetitive. And a lot of times it just drones on and on about things. And I'll say even like what I've found it helpful for me is to take an entire interview and I'll put it in. I have the one that you pay $20 a month for because my copywriting coach said, just get it. It's so much better. So, all right. But I'll cut and paste the whole thing in there and say, pull out and extract the main points of this whole conversation. Even then it gets some of it, but I always have to go back and sometimes the really good stuff it misses. So it kind of glosses over, but it's helpful for organizing and then I can kind of know where I want to hone in. So I've been using it and sometimes it's even just real quick. I'll keep it open. I'll say, what's another word for something? I get lazy. I don't want to look on synonym.com. And I love that. Pop out a bunch of synonyms for something and it's whatever you put in it.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. It often can miss the key points and there are things that it won't ever know. You're right. It doesn't know your customer. It doesn't know the emotional pull behind it. You've got years and years of knowledge in your brain that just can't be poured into a computer sometimes. And I think people miss that and forget that. And that is what we're going to see now though is a crazy amount of content being produced, even more so because it's so accessible now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be about what is the right quality of content that's going to stand out from the rest. And that takes people. It takes people editing it. It takes teams. It takes experts. It takes a strategy. And I think people will see that people get sick of seeing the same kind of stuff over and over. And they'll want a better strategy. I'm excited for that opportunity just to how do we make it work for us versus being fearful of not using it at all.
Or fighting it. You end up like coding. Right. Oh, no, nothing's going digital or,
Yeah. I mean, it's here and it is taking over. Again, it's all about the strategy at the end of the day.
Well, I talked about somebody on LinkedIn posted about, I forget what they said about AI, but I told them there was a news story about an eating disorder hotline that was using all AI and it was giving such bad advice that they had to get back. I mean, if you're calling up, you have like a physical problem or a disorder, like an eating disorder, you don't be talking to an AI. But they had already gotten rid of all of I forget where this was. They got rid of all their live people that were answering the phones and they replaced it with AI. And then they had to get them all back because they were giving people bad advice. I'm like, see, I mean, you have to know, don't be dumb about it.
Yeah, that is awful. If someone's like struggling and going through a hard moment in their life, I don't want to talk to a computer. I don't want to talk to a computer anyways. I'm the person pressing 0 100 times till I get through to an agent on anything. but I can't imagine it in that scenario. That's just disappointing that people are kind of shifting towards that. There's some things you just can't replace people with.
No, I mean, where's the empathy? You can't get empathy from a robot. You can't get, understanding or, hey, I've been there before. It's eating disorder. Like, you've never even eaten anything. How are you going to know what it's like?
Exactly.
You have no emotional attachment to food.
Right.
Well, if you were to give advice for business executives who say, all right, we really want to focus on our personal brand, what would you suggest, or would you suggest they tell their people so they can become thought leaders?
I think the biggest thing would be kind of what's the goal that's driving this? Because at the end of the day, if you're getting on just posting to say you posted, it's not going to be meaningful of your time. And especially for executives who are all over the place in meetings and they have a lot of decision making to do. You have to focus on what's the greater goal. If our goal is sales for this, if the goal is the release of a product launch, and I need to be the voice behind that, explaining it. So really establishing goals, I think, is the number one thing. I would say anywhere from 1 to 3. You don't need 20. What are the key areas of focus? Is it getting your name up there and growing your personal brand? Is it your sales team, helping them get out there more? Whatever that may be, establish that and then create your strategy around it. So what are themes that you can focus on each month of topic areas? And how do you kind of build out content from there? And then I think the other thing is just really focusing that it's not all what we call you-driven content. Don't post about yourself 24/7. People will get turned off by that and not follow or engage. Make it where you're inviting people onto your platform. We do this with interview series a lot, similar to a podcast, but they can be done via email. If you don't have time or you're just nervous to be on camera or spend time talking to someone that's recorded, there's several ways you can do it, but invite people onto your platform. Talk about them, engage with them, share their message. People will come back for that. And it's also going to drive your audience growth even more because someone's going to be sharing that because you invited them onto your platform. So I would say it's establishing goals, focus on topic themes to really hone in your message, and don't make it all about you. Invite some people on to your platform to help create that kind of extension of your audience there.
Yeah. And that all makes great sense. Cause I do notice because I have a brand, a company page, and I'm never on it because I never get any interaction on it. So,
right.
Yeah.
It takes so much more effort. If you are going to use the company page and you are running a company, make sure your team is sharing it, make sure you're sharing it. And then if you really want to showcase your amazing company culture, so many businesses have, be the executive who engages with their employees. Share it, like it, comment on what they're doing. If they're out in the community, celebrate them, celebrate their wins. That stuff goes really far and it's genuine and it just showcases that you care. And people who want to work for you will see that, or people who are interested in your company will see that.
That you're a real person.
Exactly.
Well, this has been awesome. Where can people find you or connect with you or your company?
Yeah. So zilkermedia.com, all of our information is there. We have a couple of quizzes that we like to do. So we have a personal brand quiz. So please take that if you're interested. Okay. And then I'm on LinkedIn. So it's Nicole Davidson Williamson. Feel free to reach out.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciated it.